Hello, everybody. So today's topic is going to deal with bedwetting. What? Was I a bedwetter? Absolutely not. I would never do such a thing. No. And yes, where I actually believe a lot of mine stemmed from being molested as a child, um, or however else. That's not always the case. So you do want to, take that with a grain of salt. If your child or something like that is bedwetting or whatever else, it doesn't always mean that there was trauma or however else in their past. But that was the case in my situation. So yeah, it got to be a fairly bad situation at times, especially when I was staying at people's houses or I was an equal opportunity bedwetter. It didn't matter where I was at or whose house I was at. If you invited me over, then you always had that possibility of having a mess to clean up. um, so yeah, but for me, it started like after being molested as a child. And, it was one of those things where um, it continued for, probably a good year or so that I would end up having those issues or whatever else. Now, yeah, it would happen at home. It would happen at my aunt's house. It would happen at a friend's house. It would happen. I was in Japan at one point. I was there with my family in Japan, and that also caused a lot of anxiety and things like that because I was in such a strange place that I wasn't used to, and didn't really know my surroundings and things like that. So yeah, that also would happen while I was out there, unfortunately. But but obviously over time I did grow out of it. So yeah, not so yeah, just because you might have had some bedwetting experiences in the past, it could be hormonal. It doesn't always mean that that you were molested or your child might have been molested, but it also take that with a grain of salt because again, if you are a parent and your child is bedwetting, obviously there's going to be other signs also. And if you actually do have some concerns as to whether maybe they were molested or have had some trauma like that from someone, caused by someone in their past or however else, um, then ask questions, dive deeper, start, you know, trying to get the child to really come forward and explain certain things, or and just fully ask them. So because yeah, it wasn't always a nice thing because I mean it brought a lot of embarrassment and a lot of shame for me, obviously, as a child. Um, and then that McDonald triad that talks about serial killers, and if you're a bedwetter, then you could possibly be No, I have never killed anybody yet. But no, I have my eye on a couple people, but no. So no, it's not that it's not a definite sign that your child was molested. It's not a sign that your kid's going to be a sociopath or, deal with psychopathy or whatever other issues or however out there. Um, because it might be just again that the child's brain or whatever else growing up is just not gotten all of the messages or however else yet to say, hey, wake up, it's time to run to the restroom. Now, of course, another thing that happened to me also around that same time frame was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out. And of course, you're talking about 40 some years ago, folks. So, I mean, horror movies like that, especially, were not very prevalent. And of course, it was just not widespread out there like that. I mean, nowadays, kids probably look at that shit and they laugh their asses off. And it's just no big deal. But back then, of course, it was like, I was so horrified and just so scared And I know at one point um, was so scared to leave my bedroom because I just knew Leatherface was going to be right outside the door. And so I did what any, sane child would do. I called my dog over because I was so scared. And I opened the door and put his head out the out the door first. Because if Leatherface was right outside the door, he's gonna get my dog first. I'd shut the door after that. But yeah, Leatherface was never there, so I was able to drop the dog and run to the bathroom real quick, and then come back to my room. But that was one of those things too that I was just so scared that I didn't want to leave my bed. I didn't. I was so scared that I didn't want to leave the bed, and knowing that he was going to be right outside the door. So even that everything has to be taken with a grain of salt. So that is my bedwetting story. I know, isn't it? Doesn't it just make you just warm with um, wet emotions of love and joy? So yeah. So but truly, if you do get other signs and you start questioning things and you kind of put one and two together, start asking your kids some questions, and dive deeper and really find, see if there could be a possibility of something like horrifying, like the molestation that I went through as a child. And so that way, you can bring it out at an earlier age and really deal with it when it's when it's happening, or when it just recently happened. Because I know for me and most people that have been molested don't come out until 20, 30, 40 years have passed or whatever else, and they continue to deal with all of that trauma and emotions and everything. And so, the idea is to just continue to, have it come out and get it out of your system, and heal from within, because everything can be healed with light and love. And being truthful about all of that or whatever else, and coming clean and coming out and letting people know is just one step that helped me get one day better. So I hope that's the case for you. And if you liked today's video, because I know it was very different than the others I've made, please hit like and subscribe. And if you know anybody else that this may help, then please share this with others. And I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. Have a great day in light and love.